What's up, everybody?
What it do?
And welcome to another episode of Perc Talk. Just on the back hash, guys. My name is Ted. Joined with me is Will, and we have a special guest joining us today. Talk some drums. We got Mr. Marcus Hawkins. How you doing, man?
What's up?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Doing great, man.
Doing well. Marcus is one of those guys, like, we've been friends on Facebook, but we've never really, like, for real talked.
Ain't that how it goes? That's how Carl's got up, because Instagram famous. Met him on Instagram first. Just kept chopping it up with him. I was like, dude, this is a cool dude, man.
Yeah. And I was like, watch his videos. He got lots of funny videos. He produces his own music and stuff. And then you commented on our Blue Coats front ensemble react. And I was like, oh, he watches the pod. You should have him on. That's a knowledgeable brother.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
we were both was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, that popped off in a couple ways because you commented, and then the actual coordinator for Blue Coats dude commented too. And I was like, all right, one, validation. I do know what I'm talking about a little bit, so that's good.
Maybe a smidge.
Yeah, Alan Justice and crew. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I might try to see if he'd be willing to get on and talk some stuff. Especially, I know he's had some guys on that ensemble that he said he wanted to give some love to, so maybe we can hit that up too. So, but no, man, it's always cool to meet a lot of cool people because we know a lot of the same people. The drum world it's small where you meet one, you're like, oh yeah, well this person and this person. So, might as well start connecting dots a little bit more. I need to be better about that. Will is really good about it. He knows that about it. So Marcus, Marcus, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background. Like, let us know kind of your story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Middle Georgia. I went to Jacksonville State University in Alabama. I marched Spirit when I was there in 2004. I played snare drum. I marched Music City Mystique in 2005 and 6. Also on snare drum. My main instrument in college was marimba. A lot of drum set. I started gigging at a pretty young age, mainly drum set stuff, hand drum stuff. I still do a pretty good amount of that now, just playing on people's albums. I'm a teacher now, right? I was a band director for a few years. After I was kind of done performing, I did corporate shows for about 10 to 12 years, full time, traveled all over the world, all the things. And then, I've taught a lot of band, drum corps, music of all different types, and that's what I do.
Awesome.
Nice.
I like the fact that the well-roundedness. Like, I march snare, but I love marimba, and I can do it all. Because a lot of kids think they just have to do one, and especially I know in Kentucky, I don't know if it's like this in Georgia right now, but in Kentucky, it is slim pickings to find a percussion instructor. Slim pickings. Like, it's really bad. And
because a lot of times these groups want somebody that can just do it all. They want one person that can do both the battery and the front. And that's just tough, man. It's tough to find these days.
Yeah. And I had to do that a whole lot. I started teaching band camp super early and I went crazy for a few years. So I would teach, 5 or 6 different bands in one summer.
Yep.
There was one summer I had 8 weeks of band camp.
I've been there.
But, and for a lot of those, I think that's where I kind of cut my teeth as far as for real teaching. And for most of them, I was the only person for both. And even right now at Georgia Tech, I'm the percussion director there. I don't have a staff, so it's just me for the battery and the front ensemble. So it's just how it is.
That's a major university. You wouldn't think that for a major university.
I say, do I need to move again?
Hey, he would take care of your front for you for sure. Well, I mean, he can do both. He can do both. When he worked with us, he was the battery person. I took care of all the front ensemble stuff.
Nice.
So, but it kind of worked, I guess. We didn't get fired, so that's a plus.
That was the main goal.
But and then talking about the gigging and stuff like that. Just you're a lot like Carlos, just finding your way into making music and making money doing stuff that you love to do. Because ultimately, and I've heard, your slogan. I'm going to mess it up. Please don't hurt me. But like, it's a beautiful day for music. It's a beautiful day for sound. Is that right?
It's a wonderful day for sound. Yeah.
Okay, so I was close. But like you can tell you really love music. So any way that you can do that, like I'm pretty sure you feel like you don't work a day in your life. You know, I'm sure some days are harder than others.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, I will say it like this, you're not going to love every person's show that you're working on. I write a lot of drum books, front ensemble books, sound design stuff. And some of the people's shows, I try to talk them out of it, but they want to do it anyway. So some stuff is more interesting than others. And even outside of that, I do a pretty good amount of sync music. So the music that plays behind commercials and TV shows.
Oh, that's what's up.
Not all of those things are interesting. And sometimes it's like they want it to be very simple. It's nothing to, I wouldn't add it to my portfolio or whatever, but it's what works in the moment, So for me, I mean, sometimes it is work, but it's at least the type of work generally that I like doing.
Exactly. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
That's the biggest.
As I'm starting to kind of write more shows and stuff like that, that part is like, I wouldn't necessarily choose this chart, but okay. But my client's paying me, and if that's what they want, that's what we got to do. And that's so like, I'm slowly picking on that because like, that's my retirement plan. Like when I go, like, that's what I want to do. I want to, write kind of full time, be a consultant, go to schools, help out, do all that type of stuff. And learning about that, and how to work through that because it's a different set of time. And doing that right now as I'm teaching, I'll get home after practice and like I gotta write these 30 bars for this.
Still gotta do more.
Yeah, it's like
it ain't. It's like you stopped, but you didn't stop.
I'm just instead of working with kids, I'm working for this. So, but lots of really cool stuff. So like I always like people to hear, like being a drum tech is not the only way that you can do what you love to do, especially in like private arts or stuff like that. And you probably did a really good self-marketing yourself. That way people could find you to do those sync jobs, to play those gigs, and things of that nature.
Yeah, it does help. Like I have a media company, and I think just looking at when I get hired by pretty major companies just to shoot videos, for me to see their marketing plans and for me to see how they plan on rolling out certain branding ideas does kind of help me for myself just to see like, oh, I want to sell, shameless plug, stand tunes, right? And, okay, well, how would they go about doing this, And it's just kind of picking within my own little niche ways for me to do that on a pretty consistent basis. Yeah.
Is this volume 3 or 2?
This is the first time I've ever done stand tunes per se, at least for the public.
Okay.
I only really try to do one thing a year. So last year I came out with an album called Band Nerd Bangers. And it's basically like warm-up songs, like, jumping jacks, some marching basic songs, some songs that kind of encourage, breathing, practicing, that kind of stuff. Some of them are more comedic. Some of them are for exercise purposes. But, and I've been doing those for years. When I was an assistant band director, we had a whole lot of kids and it was only us 2 band directors. So I just needed the drum majors to be able to press play and for the band to warm up, for them to do their calf raises, their arm circles, to take a lap. So everything had to be automated to a certain extent. And that's when I also really got into video because, I'm trying to teach my concert band, but I still needed my percussionists to for real, like just go somewhere and move their hands. So I recorded every single lesson. I would send them off. I recorded all of my tutorials for my cymbal line, like all of the flips, the angles, and I would just send them off. But that's how I kind of got into tutorial kind of things. I've been uploading to YouTube since 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real smart.
Yeah.
Especially in a sense when you're by yourself. And that's a really, in my opinion, good example of using your resources to benefit and help you instead of what is like it being the own like I don't you know how like someone can use something but it turns into a crutch maybe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I'm like having a hard way to explain that, but like that didn't seem like what it was in your situation. Like I'm looking back and like, dang, I wish I could have sent the symbol line off to do because I
yeah,
had East symbol line, Barricaded, like a whole bunch of groups that I've taught. I was like, hey, y'all go do this because I got to go back to the front or I got to go back to the snares or somebody or and this further explains what I just explained to you, right? And you get it on repeat without me being there, and because I floated a lot to a lot of schools, but it's like, man, I wish I had that idea back in the day.
yeah. It's just at least for me, it was a way to copy myself,
Yeah,
just duplicate. Like, hey, you guys go over here, watch the video. You guys go over here,
yeah.
watch that video. It's already set up. It's specific information for them. It's timed out. I know when everybody will be coming back to the main room, you know. So yeah, I would do that a lot, like 3 or 4 times a week. Almost every section would have a specific video for me so that I could have the time to teach. You know, I was teaching the guard also at that point.
Oh my gosh.
So I know, yeah, we had Marcus Mondays. So, you know, I just had to have a way for me to get specific information because, you know, we didn't have a staff. So in order for us to make them halfway decent, you know, it was just I had to use whatever resources I had.
Yeah.
Necessity's the mother of invention. So you
that part.
Making things work. And then like you said, the cool thing about those videos, if it's a concept that you know you're going to teach every year, it's done. I mean, or you can tweak it if you need to, but like you're like, oh man, kids are struggling with paradiddles. Like, all right, where's that video? Just throw the video in the Google Classroom. There it is, and they don't have to worry about it. So, I'm smart. I might look into doing some of that stuff because I have a mixed percussion ensemble class, and my 8th graders are like, do we have to do all of this beginning stuff? Like, until I figure something out better, yes. So, but yeah. But then, like you said, that just kind of led to the band warm-ups and stuff like that, which that seems to be becoming more and more of a thing. You're starting to see more organized warm-ups, blocks and using times. And so a little bit ahead of your time, a little bit there. Nothing wrong with it. So, all right. Well, let's talk a little shop about DCI percussion. We can talk about finals specifically, or just the season in general. I mean, let's just start with the big dogs: Boston, SEV, and Bluecoats. Boston winning to Stanford. Well deserved. Let's get that out the way for somebody who tries to blow that up. Well deserved. And also receiving a perfect score on the final site. Bluecoats, I think, ended up finishing second for the week for the average. And then SEV third. They were close, but Bluecoats put a little bit of a gap on them at finals night, and that kind of flipped it a little bit. So it was super close. So, what are kind of your leaning thoughts about? We can talk about the top 3, or we can talk about Boston specifically, or you know.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Boston. First of all, at least for me, I think, man, this would have been maybe 17 or 18. I could see it coming. Mm-hmm. You know, they had a certain energy then that I felt like the cadets were still trying to do, but not exactly doing it right. And I even convinced some of my students at the time. I'm like, hey, go here. So I've had a few bass drummers and some snare drummers and I think a quad player that have kind of gone to Boston and things, because I'm like, at some point they're going to make the push. It's going to happen. We just don't know when. And the stars kind of have to align. And I think for this year, what really helped them out, I really believe, is them choosing windows to give their front ensemble moments, you know, where some of the other years, I really believe they had the players, but they just didn't give them a chance to for real show what they had. And I think this year it happened. I think there was a very balanced circumstances for like, this is a percussion moment, but we're also showing what our front ensemble can do. And they're just good. I think their drumline took the right amount of chances, because some years I believe it was probably a little too much. Like at the end of that triplet roll, you didn't have to put that 4-stroke in there. They only hit it half of the time, So I'm excited to see that it happened for them.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying about the front, because like me and him have kind of been a little bit critical of it the past few years. And I think sometimes because the battery is so strong, it does overshadow them. I mean, like, you just forget they're down there. And I think sometimes, because we're human, I think sometimes, like, you're like, well, if the battery's playing all this hard stuff, the front should too. So I think like you said, I think they did have more moments than they typically do. And like you said, when they had them, they executed from an achievement standpoint. So they got their shot. They didn't give the judge a reason to say anything negative about it when they had their shot. I mean, you hate to say they played the game, but that's smart.
It is. And, for them, I think possibly I don't know. I think internally they were probably a little bit angry,
Right.
because of just, they started to get kind of the reputation that their front couldn't play.
We probably didn't.
But I think they're always able to, but there's only so much sonic space, that you have, and you have to sometimes clear out certain sections in order to make what you're trying to say a little bit more clear. So some of those years they started off with way more notes in the front, and then it just kind of thinned out in order to give the battery more space, as the summer went along.
I think the issue, and this is where a lot of people listen to me and they're like, okay, you're going to blow up about this. And I usually do, because the issue is the balance isn't balanced between them two. And Boston's battery carries the percussion too high by themselves. And I don't think there has ever been a time I've said or debated that the front can't play. I think their content is not to par to the rest of your basic top 5 to 6, maybe 8. Their content does not stack. You can't say, oh, Boston's content is above SEV's content in the front ensemble. Are we saying that? Are we saying that their content is above Blue Coat's content, BD's content? We're not. It's not a issue about the actual achievement. That's gonna be there, because you can't be there, and if you're not achieving it, it's fine. It's it's what's actually happening down there, and then you're saying, okay, well, what level of actual judging are you giving that content compared to everybody else to fill the gaps for the front compared to everybody else's front? Because it's very suspect to say that the battery is just that hard and you're allowing such a huge gap between the front and the battery. And you're saying these other fronts who are clearly higher content are just, and achievement, let's say that too, because Blue Coats can't be SEV like that if they're not achieving very well, and vice versa, and say that gap between is not looked at enough, because there are some things, and why we did Blue Coats front and why we talk about SEV's front so much, that it's actually unreal. And I've told people in our main contest, the stuff the SEV has down there in their front, they built that. That's not something you're going to your local music shop to buy. They built those things. And that's it. And they have a video explaining how they got built. And the things that those groups write and how and what they do, it is just like, where are we even comparing what Boston's front has done compared to this front? And you're saying that, like, even if Boston's front, because a previous post, I had them about 8th as far as the top front ensemble only. Even if they were fifth or sixth or something, you're saying that gap between their front and their battery is, or their battery did so much that gap between their front and the battery wasn't even compared. Like no one else was compared to that. That the battery was that amazing. Where was the judging on the front to make that number make sense?
I mean, I understand that, and I think the hard part for me, and this is, I guess, one of the only years that I really didn't get a chance to stand in front of everybody's front. I wouldn't be able to tell unless I, with my own ears, was able to stand and just watch people from the floor level in front of everybody, and that would be the hard part. I know that even though their content wasn't as high as other people, at least the other top three, right? It was close enough for them to have the checklist, right? Did you have these type of runs? Did you show this type of extended interval phrases, right? Playing things in octaves. Did you have triple laterals? Did you play these types of textures that showed this type of environmental demand? Did your timpani player have these? I think they checked enough boxes to where they could say, we did it. Now, did we do it through the whole show? No. And then that's in critique where they would say, well, was it musically appropriate for us to do it in the whole show? Right? Was it idiomatic to the moment, or would it have taken away from the moment for us to arbitrarily just put notes in there for the sake of notes, right? So I'm not sure if they took that path in critique, but whatever they were saying to them, I mean, obviously they made it okay enough for them to point to like, hey, we did these things. We did this here. After the horn feature here, watch these people here. And they did it well enough to where the judges could check off all of the other things that other people were doing. It wasn't as much, but they could at least say that they did it.
And that's a conversation in its own, because then what are you saying for the ones who do it and are achieving it very well? What are you saying to those groups who have that content? Because I pointed out to them, and I was just pointing out because it's tough, man. Because this is why I say I am not against having double panel judges for percussion and color guard. And I think if we're going to wind up doing all these double panels at finals or for finals night or whatever, we might as well look into the color guard and percussion too. We might as well. But what I'm saying is what are they saying who are chiefs? Because I pointed out to them at a show where there is a judge in Blue Coast show who specifically, the front is here and the judge is behind the front ensemble watching the snares while the front is on double marimba splitting that entire section. But you're saying that what the snares were playing, that had zero to do with that moment. That snare part ain't hard. That snare part didn't have nothing in it. You just wanted to make sure it was clean, right? But you missed the whole thing in the front. That is by far more difficult than what the snares are doing at that moment. Yeah. But you were behind them. Yeah. And for that, and I told somebody else that it's like, look, not hating Boston either. Boston has moments where they doubled the marimba and the vibe. What are they playing though? They're not playing what Blue Coast is doing when they do their double moments on the keyboards.
That's true.
And that's a difficulty thing difference. Now, I like what Boston did. I thought, okay, that's cool. But that ain't harder than what Blue Coast is doing. In the same moment that I said Blue Coast were doing, the judges behind, I sat there and watched him in the show on purpose. I followed the dude on purpose. I wanted to see, where are you doing these spots in the show? Because he was like, what are we doing? And he's behind. I about fell out the chair, but I was so like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. And it just proves the point that, like, now imagine two judges. I wouldn't have said a word. Because now I'm getting the judge in the front and the judge in the back, and they both in the spots where they're supposed to be. Because you need to hear that snare part, and you need to make sure you watching that front. But for that moment, they didn't get no credit for that, because you can't say you gave them credit because you saw them in the past. That don't make sense. Oh, I know they're doing that.
A lot of people do.
And that's bull.
A lot of people do.
That's bull because The past ain't today because it could have been hella clean that day, but today it could have been dirty and you wouldn't have knew. But you know that they do it at that moment, but you didn't judge it in that moment.
I do think, though, I mean, I guess one of the saving graces for a lot of stuff over the summer is that you'll have the same judge for, 2 or 3 nights in a row, a lot of times. And hopefully, the first night of critique, you get to kind of say, hey, you missed this. You can check this thing out over here. It happens after this, before whatever. And then if you happen to see him again, you're like, hey, we've changed some of these things. I really hope that, the next time you check us out, you just stay up front. Don't go back there.
Don't worry
so you can appreciate how these things line up. And, you get to kind of guide what the judge is paying attention to or listening to. So by the time it gets to finals, they sort of already know and they've heard some of the things that you're presenting to them.
It's just difficult to just know what's coming to actually doing what's happening. Because the judge put out a video that everybody's already circulated for Boston. The judge, there's the section, the whole,
took that off.
They took that off because the whole percussion is in the block and it's off to the 45 from the front. And the judge is like in the middle to the side, but he's watching the battery, but he hears the front to his left. But he makes a comment to the front, knowing he hears it to the left while watching the battery to the front. Why even make that comment? You didn't see it, but you heard it. So as far as what you heard musically, okay, but you didn't watch what actually happened. And when you look at it and you put sight to sound, you just made a comment about them standing there playing a regular pattern, like it block chords or something simple, and you just made it feel like it was the most amazing thing you ever heard from the side while you sitting there watching Boston's battery play 30-second notes at 220. Like, it's like, come on, man.
I should have warned you, Marcus. I'm sorry.
No, hey, look. It's a good take. And, the hard part, especially when they went to
water. This is just water.
When they went to kind of the one judge system, we all knew that there were going to be missing things, right? We know that there's going to be the assumption of certain moments happening based off of previous knowledge. If you saw them hit that thing the last 2 nights, you're going to assume that it's still going to be there, right? And by the way, the same thing happens the other way around. If you know that group A or B has not typically hit the thing pretty consistently, you're going to probably guess that it's around the same, unfortunately. And I think that's what kind of caught people like the Blue Devils off guard kind of at the beginning part of the season. Like, we all knew the one moment that they were going to mess up because it's hard. It's extremely hard.
Tough. Oh, we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, I think for some of those circumstances, I don't know. I guess for me, part of the conversation is what accounts for content? Like, are we just counting notes? Are we counting the difficulty or the density of those notes? Or does the content have more so to do with composition and the appropriateness of the music situation? I mean, because then, we could easily say that somebody like Star 93 was terrible because they didn't have near the amount of notes, But it's about the touch and the way that they played it and the space that they had that created the nuance of the show, right? So I don't know. I guess it's hard. Like, if a Boston were to take that approach, would people just consider them to not be good? Does that make sense?
I mean, that question got raised with just the brass alone between Boston and Blue Coats. As okay, who's playing harder? Or hell, BD and Blue Coats or Boston. Sorry. Like, who's playing the most notes or stuff like that. And I think that's why Blue Stars achieved so well.
There's so many things that get included into the content capture. Like I said, I would love to see a DCI sheet for that, even on the brass sheet. But a lot of folks do equate, and normal folks, like not judges, but equate difficulty to notes. And like, no, there's simultaneous responsibility. There's spatial demand, geographic demand, range issues, technical facility. There's all of these things that take place into it. And the human nature is what do you appreciate more? You know, I think one thing that Blue Coats does really well with their front is they set the atmosphere for the rest of the ensemble. Their sound package, their sound design is so enthralled. Like that show would sound completely different if they weren't down there.
Because I think we made a comment. Didn't we make a comment on just a key change or something? Like something weird like that, maybe.
I know we said something about a rhythmic glitch that they were performing down there towards the ballad.
That might have been it.
But that, like those type of things. SEV does the same type of stuff. Blue Devils is very compulsory, kind of like you were talking about. Like here's all the different techniques, and we're going to do it. And they were really good at showing them off in an artistic way that made sense. Nothing ever seemed forced with those guys. So, like, I think Boston has all those compulsory things really, really well done, especially in the battery. And then the front is just like, okay, I just need you to survive. Like, here's your moments. You got to nail them. Like, these things, get them. Like, this is going to show off that we can do those things. We talked about that with Carolina Crown a lot, too. Like, the battery book against the horn book, and where their horn is, like, their shining star, like, they had to find somebody that will marry that. Yeah. Which I think they got a good thing going with Joe Hobbs. So, it's all in the eye of the beholder. That's why a lot of people are like, well, it should just be finals night. They shouldn't have to. I think when you have something like that on the line, it's good to have different opinions, and consistency should be rewarded as well.
Yeah, and I don't mind, I guess, the judging system. I think there's some people who want it to be closer to like maybe like the Olympic judging system. Like I can show up and do like a perfect cartwheel, but it's not weighted the same as a more difficult skill set, right? And I think some people want it to be all the way on that side of the scale. Like the more difficult the skill set, the more you could potentially score, right? The more credit you'll get, which is somewhat like that, right? You're rewarded for creative chances that you take, and you're rewarded for excellence. But at the same time, and achievement matters, but at the same time, it's like there's still a form of artistic contribution. And if we really do want to judge composition, why not just turn in the scores? Yeah. Like, hey, turn in your scores. We're going to analyze this as judges, and we get to look at your scores while we're listening to you play to determine the validity of your musical expression from a composition standpoint. And that could be different from the content standpoint. Maybe that's a thing for the future. So when you look at that front book, you're like, cool, compositionally, this is sound. From a content standpoint, this is the highest you can rank because this is only like a 7 out of 10 from a difficulty content standpoint, which is separate from composition and is separate from execution. Maybe that's a conversation for the future, And
I know WGI does a pretty good job of spelling that out, especially for concert class. It's like, what does the journey, we talk about that from A to B, does it take you on a journey, and does you lead them there the whole time? And I'm sure DCI has the equivalent to that on that sheet, but because they call it just flat out content, like I said, if you just don't know, you just say, well, it's all of the notes and all of that stuff. But, if a quarter notes when a line-up a quarter note when the battery is right behind the front ensemble is way different than lining them up when they're in the opposite corner. And making sure that stuff lines up from, and there's just lots of different stuff to catch, and it's hard to catch everything.
And that's why I keep stressing to everybody. I had no issue, and on a probably a bigger scale, I actually was pulling for Boston to win. Because I'm like a lot of people. I was like, I've been looking the past 4 years too. I'm like, bro, this is insanity.
Just finish.
And I was like, but it's true. Every year by finals, Boston just would overdo it, and it would something would blow up every time. So we stressed this year, even on our main podcast, on our Perc podcast, we was just like, Boston, just do it, bro. Don't go out there, change nothing. Just come out there and do it. And I had been pulling, but I've just been pointing these certain things out, and I think a lot of people was like, "Well, you just hate Boston." Nah, that ain't it. I was like, if we're going to be fair, I was like, because at the end of the day, bro, all this got to get considered. Because why? You're going to have a lot of groups now that's just going to have mediocre fronts with deranged batteries. That's not going to be fun at some point. Because eventually, what if that trickles into the indoor world? What are we going to do then? Because I'm not finna watch you. Because watching 1,000 percussions already is too much. You got a lot of folks who need breaks, who can't take it. We talk about the breather group or whatever. I forgot what we call it. Like it's the group that comes in that doesn't slam every note every 5 seconds. Their show is just level. It's just relaxed and it just rides. You need those type of shows because you get shows in there that's all the way slam quadruple forte. Ain't nobody want to listen to that.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in color guard. I don't want to hear fast music all the time in my face. Yeah, is Britney Spears this or Taylor this or whatever? Hit me with something that's just going to be relaxing, whatever, and then be lyrical on the floor and then spin your butts off. But I kept trying to tell people, I was like, the balance has got to be somewhere, right? So that's why I'm like, in my man, just double panel it. Call it a day. Don't even make it a decision. Like if it's a logistical thing, okay, let's figure that part out. What logistically do we need to do? And I even said, even if we don't do it for the whole season, just do it for finals only. Call it a day. Because you're already doing it for the other captions. Why skip these two? Why skip color guard and percussion when there's so many in color guard? I already know they blowing up about certain stuff. You probably got people mad that Blue Coast got beat by them and Boston took it. Or you got probably people like, well, what about BD? And, all kinds of discussions in that realm because, I mean, I cut a lot of color guard for indoor percussion or indoor color guard groups. And I hear stuff from them all the time. It is direct. You'd be crazy how many people thought Pride shouldn't have won. And all these other things. And listen, that debate is a different story because I got my opinions about that too. But it's like just if to me, I was like, I feel like that would fix a lot of things and that would shut a lot of people up. You got somebody down there the entire duration, front only. Make that opinion, do whatever you got to do with the numbers. Let the perk guy run all over the field. I'm not saying put him back on the field because I didn't even like that when I marched scouts. But let him be down there on the sideline, do what he got to do, and then call it a day. Same thing with the color guard. I'm not trying to say put everybody on field. Maybe some of these visual judges get up. Can't put everybody on field because then it gets cluttered. But we got to come up with something, right? Come up with something. And again, not for the whole season, but if we're going to do it at finals, all these other captions get it, but we don't. Something's not right, man.
Yeah. And I think, in a perfect world, right? 100% optimal, there would be somebody to be in the front the whole time, somebody to be running around, presumably they would learn the show. They would have a path that they know that they could take safely. But then also there would be somebody up top to make comments on how all of this works together and how it fits within the win book and all of those things. Right. So, I mean, that would be a lot though. I mean, essentially that would be 3 people at every show.
It would.
And I mean, I don't know what the financials are with all of that and what it would take to train that many people to consistently be able to do that. But, I mean, that would be optimal to me, and even for me also, I mean, I if we really wanted to dig into it, I really think people should turn in their scores,
Because I like that. When you said it, I had not thought of that. And I was like, that makes sense too. I was like, that's an actual cost efficient way and a really good idea. And I think that actually could shed some light on certain things and maybe make your judging for that moment be a little bit easier or whatever. And like I said, I'm not advocating maybe because every show, especially DCI, there's more than there is in WJI, would be difficult. So financially, I get that. But if we're just talking about finals only, why not? Can we logistically figure out 3 nights? That's it. Call it a day. Now I get it. At the ends, you're going down the road. Somebody's going to probably start complaining. Well, 3 nights. You need to now do it all the shows. And about okay, y'all doing too much. But I had fun the last time when me and Cedric judged their show. I got to be on the floor, and that was the first time I did it. We did a double panel for percussion, and I was tearing these front ensembles up. I was like, y'all not getting away with nothing for me. But
That's good.
It was so much fun though because me and him were so crazy because the first time we've ever done it before, and we were so close on our numbers that it was blowing our mind and just showed us like, well, God dang, do we think of like this much? You know what I'm saying? And so it was like my first experience in like I get it. You know what I'm saying? For me being down there, and it's like okay, but that's all I have ever said. I was like, I think it'll solve a lot of problems. I was like,
it's a lot of groups, doing a lot of really good stuff in the front ensemble. So,
I think from a front standpoint, I think it's just the best it's ever been. I can't think of one drum corps top to bottom that didn't have at least a good front. Like all of them are playing multiple like inner 2 mallet phrases. Yeah. All of them are playing extended interval things with like real material, not just block chords, you know.
And the permutations are insane.
Yeah, most of them are doing triple laterals, you know, at some point in their show. Even like vibe players. It's not just marimba players. So
we talked about that in Blue Coat show.
Oh yeah, like you know, everybody's vibe players at this point could potentially play marimba. Whereas like I would even say 10 years ago, as soon as you drop down to a certain place, you're like, man, like that, they had to teach that kid how to play 4 mallets, like on the road. You know, you could just see it. But I don't think that's a situation anymore. Like so many I think the 2 sections that have benefited the most in the last 20 years are bass drummers and front ensemble.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Remember, it's gone exponentially just higher and higher every year to where nobody's bad, you know?
And I'm glad you said that because as a society, especially with social media and the fact that we can say whatever we want, and think that we didn't have any repercussions, that, well, they're just bad. Like, no. There's levels to this. Like, and just because you want a different group to win or you like another group better doesn't mean you don't like another group. It's just like, they're just, you got to learn how to talk about things in an intelligent manner, you know, without just going to the extreme, like, I don't like it, it's bad. Like, all right, they clipped the 16th note pattern at 300 beats per minute. Like, you would do that. Like anybody would do that. So, yeah, that's just kind of the thing. It's like, you know, we talked about Blue Devils, which from our standpoint, it looked like front ensemble took a little bit of a step back. Still good stuff, still quality stuff. But when you have those 3 in front of you and Crown and Phantom and Cavies and groups are starting to catch up. It's not just
they're catching up.
It's not just the name does not carry you anymore.
No,
you got to go earn it. You got to go earn it. You know,
because they better watch out if these other groups keep their staff and they can have some kind of consistency in their staff. Y'all better watch out for Mandarins, because I'm just gonna throw that out there because we know what they do in indoor, and in my opinion, Mandarins and Crown had a great. This is what you're coming with. The first, like, that's solid. That is really solid. So,
did you have any thoughts about like those next 3? I mean, we know SUV's great, Blue Coat's great, Boston's great. Like, so,
So my thought about mandarins. First of all, I was upset when they got rid of the previous staff, right? I thought they were doing a great job. Now, yeah, I mean, I didn't think they had enough moments of for real exposure for their battery or especially their front before, I think maybe with the current people there, they have a little bit more say so in the formation of the total musical package. So they got a whole lot more just open moments to show off what they could do. Right. So I think that really benefited the Mandarins and they're going to be fine. I didn't in particular find any of their stuff to be memorable per se, but everything that they played was well balanced. Everything that they played was obviously clean. Everybody's going to be clean, So I'm looking forward to see how their staff is going to mesh to really create not a more cohesive package, but a package that has just more memorable moments. I'll say it like that. Because normally, like, I'll come away from somebody's show singing one of their front ensemble moments. Normally I'll come away from somebody's show like, I'm going to go on the internet and learn this snare lick, I didn't get that from them per se. I think who are the other people you mentioned after Mandarins?
Crown. You can throw BD in there, I guess, but we know what he is.
I think with Phantom, right? If I were to march anywhere today, it would be Phantom. Like if I could magically turn 18, I'm going to go to Phantom, right? I like the energy that they have there. I like their flavor of the Church of Paul Rennick, but it's slightly different. And I like that direction that they're going. I thought their show, nice. Oh man, and one of my students at Georgia Tech was marching there this summer, and he had the summer of his life. Absolutely loved it,
That's what's up.
And I'm glad he went there. I had another one that was at Crown. Absolutely loved it, with Joe and crew.
That's good.
And stuff. But, it's so many of them are just so good. I think with people like Blue Stars, they surprised me. They had a little bit of a weird beginning of their season, but if you go back and watch like just their finals lots and things, it is good. It is really good.
It's almost like they didn't have enough time or something. Because I feel what you're saying. Because I think some of the percussion stuff kind of held them back because it just couldn't. I don't know if couldn't get clean enough. But I've said like this, like you talked with Manders. I had Manders last year. I was like, dude, this is probably my most. If I was to say book that I just want to play because it's fun, Manders have had that for 2 years straight for me right now. That and to me personally, that speaks higher because if I don't have fun or seem like I could have fun playing it, it's not going to be that impressive. Or that's hard to say too. It's not going to be a first choice or something like that, or whatever. Because something that I'm going, it's like, dude, I would just play this back to back. So, or hey, man, let's learn this lick and just play it back to back over and over. But and it's like I don't want book to where I'm going to have to feel like I'm at some Mortal Kombat tournament in a sweat match. You know what I'm saying? I'm sweating just to get through it. Like my hands about to cry because I can't even get through this. No, I don't want that. I don't need all that. I done done that. I done made plenty of videos doing that. And after I made it, after the 37th take, I done cried after because it's like, why is this hard? But yeah, but that was my thing with Blue Stars. It's like I was noticing, I was like, dude, this book is actually good. It's like, but if you look at the sheets, it was just holding them back a little. It's like, yeah, man, I don't know. I was like, maybe y'all just needed some extra time or a different type of focus or something. But I liked it. I liked the book.
Yeah. I mean, and they ended up by the end, I think, doing pretty well. I think at semifinals, they got 11th in drums, maybe. But I'm pretty sure it was higher than that at actual finals. I'm not sure I can't really remember the exact number, but that was way higher.
Finals, they were 10th in finals.
10th in finals.
This is
and that's, I mean, that when you're talking about, your top 12, that's still amazing feat because you're the top 12 being in conversation.
Yeah.
And you were there. So But when you're looking at it within the top 12, it's like, man, that's tough. Especially when the brass or somebody's doing better or having a higher number, and because it's the same thing we said about Crown and your Crown won. Man, the battery. If the battery had did anything different, they wouldn't have won. Mm-hmm. That brass and they were getting. They had to get hundreds in almost every caption just for them to win. And it's like, what are we? So the battery was so far. It was like, yes, your battery almost kept you from winning. Type of deal. So
yeah,
that's kind of how I looked at Boots. I was like, man, maybe they just needed a couple more weeks or something. Or maybe something in the rehearsal schedule wasn't really meshing correctly. It had, to me, it was like, man, it ain't had nothing to do with what they were doing. It just sucked that they just weren't getting numbers because it wasn't as clean and blah blah blah. But I was like, dude, the book is cool. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to debate you with that.
They were another group though that I really liked the flavor of the writing last year, whoever that was. I'm pretty sure somebody told me, but so they have a new team that's in this year. And I mean, I still like it, but I just there was a sense of freshness, I think, last year. No, they didn't play it that well. I will say that, which is probably why, the whole team got whatever. They play a lot better this year, but I feel like it's not as a distinctive taste to what they're doing. I could easily hear them and not know who it is really. I feel like if
I got that.
Yeah. So when I listen to what's happening right now at the Cavaliers, like I know it's them, right? Obviously we know it's Santa Clara. We know it's something, at BD. You can hear it. You can hear the stuff that Colin writes and you're like, that's definitely him. Yeah. You can hear Troopers and that, Paul Rennick's team.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they did way better than what everybody was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
They were.
We've been saying that for years, and people have been calling them the sleeper group anyways. It's like, really been sleeping on Troopers battery or percussion as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren and her team, man, they know what they're doing. And she is a smart person. She's very methodical. She's very positive. And the ears that she has and how she balances an ensemble is up there. I mean, obviously we're seeing that,
Yeah, I think out of that middle tier of folks, like that's what you hear is a great percussion ensemble accompanying a great core. And for me, the only distinguishing factor between, a top three drum line in a percussion section in a middle tier is just the content and the ability to make it work for the core. How good are you making the core? A lot of times I'll look at percussion scores and then the next thing I look at is music analysis. Because a music analysis should be trying to see the whole picture. How does all of this stuff fit in together? So, those middle scores, it's there. It's there. And I think that's why you saw Crown make a push as the brass line started to clean up, the whole core got elevated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say one of the things they have been doing a lot over the summers, they've been putting people on that the MA sheets that are percussionists. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you guys started to notice that.
Yeah,
so technically there is a percussionist on the field and up top. Like I know Chris Romanowski spent a lot of the summer doing music analysis. So, he's a percussion dude,
And so that might be that answer to what you were saying, Will, is maybe they have talked about that, being like, well, we can't just flat out add a percussion judge, but let's
make it in the caption.
Yeah, here's a patch. Yeah. We can do, because it does, like a battery display artist. I mean, my school for a few years, it was the thing. The percussion section was yes, but the band wasn't. So like the music judge is like, well, they're doing too much. You're going to have to calm it down. And I think Boston found that balance. SUV's had it for a while. Blue Devils has had it for a long time. So like, it's cool when each section can kind of push each other.
Now I will say this: I'm a little bit concerned about Boston. Okay. Because we all saw that their creative director is out, right?
Yes.
That person's gone. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like if the balance is still going to be there, if the cohesiveness of the design team is still going to be there, we'll see next year, I guess.
Yeah.
And listen, I know we made, especially on the main podcast, a lot of times we made these kind of comparisons and comments like the year, let's say Crown won, SCV, the first time Blue Coats won. One of the things we were saying is look how hard they had to do to beat BD. Look how hard they had to go. Look how hard Boston had to do just to beat Blue Coats.
SCV.
And SCV to figure, and look at the journey, because think about it, like what year was it Blue Coats won the first year and Downside Up? What year was
2016?
2016, and then you didn't win again until 2024?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
It is so hard. And I think that's why people hate BD so much, or have hatred towards BD, because of that consistency. And now groups have caught up to BD. Things could potentially change a little bit, but it's the idea is like, when you do beat them, and when you had, how many were consistent doing it back to back? And
it's hard.
And that's what I was scared for Boston. I was like, man, they pulled it, because I thought they could have had it last year. There was just still some elements that were wrong. I even loved the percussion last year. I was like, dude, this is balanced.
Yeah.
I'm happy for this. Thank you, Boston. And you look at it this year, and it's like, how many more levels y'all got? Because it's been like, golly, you got to keep pumping this out and this. I honestly didn't think Blue Coast was going to pump a higher level, even knowing what was coming, because of the deal that they got with Sunlux and all this kind of stuff. Even then, I was like,
how do you talk last year?
I was like, how do you do it, man? And then they brought
it's
out,
a
and I was
bunch
like,
of
Jesus, this is how you do it.
When you have that many creative people who are at the top of their field in a room, and they're all pushing each other, well, what about this? I think we can beat that idea. I think we can beat that idea. And, and they're pushing each other is just going to continue to go. It's just like, rappers in a studio. You hear that guy's verse and you're like, wait, let me do mine again.
That was Wu-Tang all day.
Yeah. And so,
every album.
I'm pretty sure for them, they have that sort of connection where they can push each other in their respective captions, and they're constantly making leaps and bounds. It's cool to watch. I watched them rehearse when they came here to Atlanta, and just seeing how the staff interacted with one another, it was just really cool.
Yeah. There's the anime Food Wars that I watch sometimes, and the main character was he was a home cook chef, and every time he went against somebody, he'd learn a new technique every single time. Like even if they won or even if they beat him, like he would pick up something, and then in his next dish they would figure it out. He would use that technique to create a new dish, and he kept doing that and kept doing it, and that's kind of what the Blue Coats kind of remind me of in that aspect of kind of what you're talking about. Like, all right, we tried this thing. How can we push the envelope a little bit more? What else can we do to it? And Blue Devils honestly was like that too. Blue Devils is like that as well. They sometimes they go a little bit too far out gone, and people are like, "What?" But like, and to a certain extent, I guess Phantom tried it this year. With a lot of stuff. So like you said, it takes a lot of people with no egos to be able to sit in the room and have their idea. Like, I have this great idea, but have somebody poke holes in it.
Right.
That's just how you get better. Allowing somebody to, hey, I'm going to poke a hole in it, but I'm going to put some tape over it. We're going to make it better and stronger. We're going to make sure that this works. And I think that's what you see out of your top groups. And now more and more, because more minds have done the activity and have seen how what it's done to be successful, you're starting to see it trickle down into the top 8. And then, the semifinals and your bottom final scores, their show design has gotten a lot better. That Blue Night show would have been a top 6 show like 5 or 6 years ago. It's like just the game's changing, so people are evolving. So
and whatever they're doing there at Blue Nights, I really appreciate the direction that they're going. I spent 2 summers with them, 22 and 23, recently. And I mean, I wasn't feeling the shows. I was there to teach the boom booms, but whatever they've done this year, the show was good. Yeah. It was entertaining to watch. The theme was coherent throughout the whole show, I thought, and it was easy to get, which is definitely what they need. Yeah. I don't necessarily think they had the players that they had then, but I think the players will come back. After seeing shows like that, because the show was good, the players are going to start to come. So it wouldn't surprise me if, they start to push into that top 8 again very soon. Yeah.
For sure.
We talked about that a little bit because last year, man, it was. we gave them crown. They flowers for this year because it's like, man, this is a huge leap, and it's tough. It's tough to do when you drop like that, and to be like, all right, in theory, quote unquote, it was just a fluke, maybe, but still get yourself back in the finals. Now you still got to stay there because you got a lot of groups hungry and hunting, and now you got smaller groups. Spartans done show they had, and it's like Spirit's trying to creep back up. Madison don't want to stop fighting. You got all these Colts, because at first y'all had Colts, and then Colts wind up topping it. So it's one of those consistencies. Can you keep it? Can you push forward? Can you find that extra gear? All those elements.
Yeah. And I think, after some of the shuffling has commenced over the summer, because we already see it starting to happen now.
Yep.
As far as people, having to move in a different direction and whoever's going to get hired next. I mean, I don't know exactly what's happening with the Colts percussion staff, but something's going on, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with, people like the Academy. They let Taylor go, it's so seeing where people are going to move to and who's going to take over a program or who's going to add to a program, which is important. I think we'll start to see some movement with some of these places. I think that specifically with Blue Knights, having Osdemore and Taha that came from Mandarins who are already successful, that marriage within their percussion program has changed the core. I think that I think that's a large part of why they're starting their upward trajectory. Next year, I mean, I think they're going to push higher and looking forward, 2 years from now, I think they're going to be back in that top 8 position.
Off of this year, if you really want to think about it, man, next year is going to tell a lot of stories. Next year is going to tell a lot of stories for folks, especially people like BD. Think about it. BD just took 4th, y'all.
They want blood, man. They're mad.
You got like you said, and with Blue Knights, you got all these cores where, okay, this happened now. Can Mandarins going to just stay on the island by themselves again? Like is Cavies going to figure something out? Because their brass almost held them back. And it's like, I really liked what happened this year. But I look back at some of these small little pods of things that happened. Like, is BDB going to actually go to finals? Because I said it on our pod. I was like, man, that Spartan things and BD thing could have flip-flopped. Because BD was tearing them down in the beginning of the season. But they just, or I keep saying just be BDB for open. Like, open was open. Some folks in open were probably going to get shaken up. That bottom tier we always talk about is what we say. It's like 10th to 15th. Is that what we use?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
Usually,
Those bottom 10 to 15 worlds. That includes your Colts, Blue Knights now, Madison Spirit, Pacific Crest, all them, Crossman Academy, and now Spartans wants to show their face too.
Yeah. It's going to be hard. I was watching Pacific's Crest show yesterday, and they're good, man. Their tenors sound weird. Their tune's super low, but overall, the show is good. They have an extremely knowledgeable staff. They take them so far over the course of a season. I think they are going to be moving up, right? I think Spirit is going to be moving. And I'm not just saying that because I marched there. And, at Georgia Tech, Chris Moore, who's the executive director of Spirit, is the head band director at Georgia Tech, right? So I'm not just saying that because I know him, but I really do think that they're on an upward trajectory. Their show is just cool this year, What they're doing in their percussion section in particular is along the same vein of where Boston is, so how you have like Santa Clara and the Troopers. I think Spirit is going to be along the line of Boston and Spirit. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, because, they have that same type of energy, the same like motion. I'm pretty sure he was a student of Collins at one point, the caption head there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where they're going, Yeah,
it should be a good year next year. And I mean, it was, like I said, it was a great year this year. And, consistency, once all of the dominoes fall, okay, where's everybody at? And then how we're gonna step up the game and try to figure out where everybody's going to be. So I'm really looking forward to that. While you're here, thoughts on, and we're going to switch gears just a little bit, thoughts on McNutt writing for Mystique?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'll say this, I really dig his writing. And obviously, I love Shane's writing and I love what they've done there, but I think it'll be a benefit for them. There's already a lot of Mystique students who go March Boston.
Yep.
Yep. And I think it'll be something fresh. They'll have a lot of notes, which is definitely something that they need because a short skip and a hop away is Atlanta Quest. Yeah. And I know people who've skipped on marching Mystique, even though they know they're going to place higher, to come march Atlanta Quest because they know they get to play notes, right? So I think that might be a pulling point for Mystique. They're like, hey man, we get the regalness and the classic version of energy and control, but with the aggressiveness of our notes. Yeah. We can get that here now. Yeah. It's not just the pageantry of those things. So I think it'll be a nice injection of energy into Mystique.
It's always good to change it up a little bit, and that is no knock on Shane at all. It's just sometimes it's fine. Hey, let's try something different.
Because folks got to understand that he set a lot of standards. And that's something you ain't gonna never be able to deny. And WGI took a lot of picking points and rules from what Mystique did to develop what WGI is for the percussion side. And not saying things aren't elevated because of other groups and not is all that stuff, but you understand where certain origins of things come from. But the thing that I said when I first heard, and I was ecstatic, and the number one thing in my head that I said to myself, I really hope Mystique embraces in the overall idea of change and allow something that may not be quote unquote Mystique happen to Mystique. Because you got a lot of groups out here who are evolving, but they're not losing identity of who they are. Blue Coats now don't sound like the Blue Coats I had to go up against in 03.
Yeah.
But that's Blue Coats. That's Blue Coats. And you allow such different and a different approach, a different idea, a different whatever, and don't be scared of it because you're worried. Oh, well, we're this group and this is our man. Forget all that. Let's get back to top 5, Mystique. Let's Mystique, stop messing around. Look, I'm an alumni, and I keep telling people all the time, I'm gonna be a realist before I'm gonna be a fan to anybody. Like right now, my Saints is just trash, and we're losing, and I'm crying inside. But be open to what's happening, and tell yourself it's okay, because nobody's gonna sit here and say, "Oh, that ain't Mystique." Yes, it is. You're gonna always be Mystique. It's gonna always have that flavor, that feel, whatever, and allow that. I even like with Matt and them, like let the front be whatever you want it to be. This is y'all's chance. If you want something different, do it, and don't be scared of it. Forget where you lay in the numbers. Be whatever this is, because we already know y'all gonna come out and it's gonna be hammers. We're gonna, you're gonna be clean. You're gonna look the part. You gonna be world class. I'll see you at finals. Okay, we're not debating none of that stuff. But when I heard about it, and I was just like, that was my only thing. Is like, I just really hope they embrace it. I really hope they allow something to happen that we ain't never seen and they ain't never seen, and not be scared of it.
And I think they will. You know, there's a lot of people in that group already that march under Colin over the summer. And I think that's why I was very at ease with it, because a lot of them are familiar with the playing style. I think their snare drums already are very close to what they're doing at Boston. I mean, it's slightly more reserved, I think, at Mystique. Yeah. But I'm excited to see where it goes. I will say, though, places who are close, but they got to watch out. Like, I think that is a very potentially hurtful thing for a place like Atlanta Quest. Because now that puts somebody directly, kind of beside you that you can drive to, that they're going to be playing notes.
It's the same thing we said when Rhythm X went to Indy.
Mm-hmm. It's Indy's like from where I'm at 3. Indy's only a 3.5 hour drive. It's so your top Kentucky kids could go.
They could do that. That's simple.
Yeah.
I do feel like Mystique's gonna have a lot of eyes on them this year.
Oh yeah.
I just man, embrace it, y'all. Y'all run with this joint, man. Let's do something stupid and it just makes no sense. No, don't do that.
I hope they come out just aggressive, I mean, and already, I mean, we know that their front's going to be amazing. They led the game in front ensembles for years. We already know that, and everybody else's front just had to.
They just started
catch up, and I don't think it really even started to get close until maybe 2010, maybe 2012 or so. But they were just so clearly better than everybody else's front. And I think that's when maybe Mystique started to have some problems. It's like they couldn't pull our front is better than everybody else's card,
Because even we've said it. So that makes me so happy that we didn't even mention that, and you already said it before we even said it. Because that's been a thing. Like, we've said that before. Like, I told somebody, or we've even kind of debated, it's like, bruh, the only front that, in my opinion, that rivaled Mystique was Amachi. They ain't been out in decades. You know what I'm saying? And it's wow. You see how far back that has to go? And it's like Mystique's front has just ridden that line, and now you see X probably trying to take that crown over. And I've even said, I was like, y'all give all the flowers to them, but they got a long road to go. Because it's a difference between consistency and all the years Mystique's put in. I mean, hell, I was in that. So I get it. Wow, that front is what it is. I was in that front. And it's like, you seen it. I was like, dang, RCC throwing notes. I was like, hell, even Infinity. And a lot of people, this is maybe just a side, a side comment, but like Matrix needs to ground the front. Like, Matrix, stop. let them rest, Matrix. It's okay. It's okay. Because here's my thing. I'm a fan of Matrix. I'm a fan. I actually like I like Matrix in how they write and the vibe they have as a group. I really like how they arrange and write. I do think they gotta focus a lot on the playing in general. The achievement is an issue, and I feel that. But y'all are so visually and GE high is why you stay where you are. But if they fix that, because I do a lot of times I sit back and listen to Matrix shows. I'm like, man, ever since the Skrillex show, that sound that they have, I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I always enjoy listening and hearing Matrix how they sound, but the playing has always been a conversation for them. But they are going to be high G, because they're going to move the whole floor. But
and I will say, I think they're getting closer, right? I think last year their playing was better than the year before, right? So if they could keep that creative spirit, Rob Ferguson, right? Mm-hmm. If they can keep that thing, but then, just attract better players, I'm sure their teaching staff can teach all the things, but yeah, it's just, and I do understand with their floor being like that and them doing all the things, they're put in very environmentally challenging positions. Mm-hmm. To have a marimba in between your snare break, that's not something,
you can't dance the front book because you got to move 8 spaces to the left. So you're compensating for something, suffering for something else. And they're getting the poise for that, but at the same time, at some point, it's like, let us see what y'all do. Don't move nothing. Get the auxiliary off from the side or the back and put everybody together, or make some kind of cluster, something, whatever, and just go ham there. And then allow us to see the rest of this drill and visual and whatever, and see what happens from that and where you stand, right?
And I think for them, I think internally they know, hey, we're not going to meddle. Let's see how far artistically we can push these concepts. And maybe when they feel like, oh, we have this many vets coming back, we have this many people.
Now we got
this is the show. I think they might be a little bit more conservative with all the things, but still have the little sauce in there, I think it'll work out for him eventually.
Yeah, because like I said, I love him. I'm always a Matrix fan. I watch him, and like I said, I dig that sound. It's unique to me, and I don't hear the groups that really resemble that. So I like that sound. It's just there's always been the debate with the plan. So that's all. That's basically the thing with that. But at the end of the day, you got these groups rising. I don't know if George Mason can pull it off again. That show they had this past season was insane, and it was the most entertaining fan favorite, hands down, all that jazz. But can y'all really stay there?
Where do
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I think they kind of fall into that same category. They had a very well-designed show, the references were really cool, but at the end of the day, could they really play? When you listen to the lock clips, I'm like, some of it was, it was a little questionable, so I'm like,
and it's
is this where we're going?
Exactly. It's the exact same thing that hurt Strike Percussion. How y'all gonna bring King Kong and planes and all kinds of stuff on the floor? Your G and stuff was high, but boy, y'all suffered in playing.
It was rough.
And now look at you. They hadn't been in finals since when? And there's been a couple shows where I liked it. They played one show and I forgot the song, but I have it. And I was like, this is the coolest song I've ever heard. And I can't remember. They had this step thing in the back of the floor. I think it had the sun and the moon or something had to do with jobs or something. I can't remember the name of that show. But I know it had to do with getting up early, going to work, and then come back. That opener was the bomb. And that song that they used was fire. But it's like, God, man, y'all just, the playing is just not I don't know, but
it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. That top 5, the new, what seems to might be the new top 5 with Infinity budging their elbows in there. I don't know.
They're good. And I think It's fresh for me because it's harder. It's not that people are getting, and I understand as an alumni, right? You know, a lot of people are like, well, this is what we scored and we got these things, but it's not that groups are getting worse. It's just that everybody's getting better.
That part.
And there's more actual contenders out here for real, you know, because I can remember, you know, in 2000 and the early 2000s, you would watch Indoor Drumline, and like after the top three, people were legitimately bad, right? Like really bad. You would have to go down to like, you know, 18th, 20 something place to see somebody who's just not good. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's just the whole thing is moving up, and it's not like, you know, people like Mystique aren't good anymore, because sometimes people will say stuff like that, but it's just that everybody else has elevated what they're doing. I think percussion education overall in the state, well, in the United States, has gotten better. Now, there are certain pockets, obviously, that, you know, people are having problems. I complain all the time about where I live here in Cobb County. But overall, I think people have gotten better.
That's true.
And that's why we're seeing, like you said, the elevation. And, you know, when they talk, you can't compare numbers from the end of the year. It's you know, I'm the first group that gets judged, they're on the compulsory sheet, but then it's a comparison. How close are you? And then when you got groups that are super tight, you know, it's like, well, I like this better today. Like,
right.
I can't tell, so I'm gonna go to preference, and that can change from night to night. So, but yeah, I agree that this education from a percussion standpoint has gotten a lot better. A lot of the folks that we marched with in the early 2000s are starting to run groups and starting to do great things. So you're starting to see the benefit of that. So, well, man, we accidentally went into a little bit of a preview for 2026 for WGI, but you know, that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So before we kind of head out, any last things you want to say, or you want to plug anything or anything like that, man?
I will say this. I think people are doing a great job, and I think people should continue to push themselves artistically. And sometimes that means that, you know, you'll take chances that fail. Sometimes that means that there's going to be some hair on that peach, you know, but I think as a community, as long as we continue to push those boundaries, everybody will get better, and some things will be terrible, and then we'll figure it out together. And whatnot. So yeah, and you know, as I always say, it's a beautiful day for music. It's a wonderful day for sound.
There it is. So I want to thank Marcus for joining us, and we definitely need to have you on closer to WGR, maybe during the season, just to kind of talk some shop again and see what's going on with all that good stuff. So it's great talking to you, brother.
Thank you.
Always excited for that type of stuff. You can listen to us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts about what we've talked about today. I know we talked about a lot. So if you need to watch this like 3 or 4 times, do it.
Listen.
Okay, and then share it.
Close to being 6 hours.
I looked up, I was like, yeah, we need this.
I did too. I kind of glanced. I was like,
but that's good. When the time fly by, you know, you had a good time. So for Marcus and William, my name is Cedric. This has been another episode of On the Backhatch Perc Talk. Enjoy your marching band seasons. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Holla.